Welcome. I'm going to give folks just a minute to join, and then we'll get started. Welcome to today's webinar. We're here and we'll be discussing opportunities for high school students to solve pressing challenges impacting our schools and communities. My name is Kate Cochran. I'm the Managing Director of the Partnership for Student Success. This webinar is the third in a series of webinars from the Partnership for Student Success focused on presenting recent, timely, and relevant research on evidence-based and people-powered student supports and related practice with practitioners from schools, districts, and youth-serving nonprofit organizations. We're also really focused on providing examples of how research-based and evidence-based practice can manifest in some work you'll see highlighted today. You'll be able to view the recording of this webinar as well as our past webinars on our website in about a week. You'll also receive an email with a recording of the webinar next week. Based at the Everyone Graduates Center at Johns Hopkins University, the Partnership for Student Success is a national coalition of school districts, nonprofit organizations, and higher education institutions working to expand evidence-based and people-powered supports for K-12 students and communities nationwide. We focus particularly on 5 student support roles that have substantial evidence of effectiveness on a range of student outcomes. And these roles are high-impact tutoring, mentoring, student success coaching, post-secondary transition coaching, and wraparound or integrated student supports. We provide technical assistance, operate working groups, learning communities, and other opportunities for practitioners to collaborate around shared challenges, as well as solutions to those challenges. And we also conduct research and disseminate information about research-based strategies for implementation. Big part of this work and a big priority for us in the upcoming year is investigating the role of how our young people can play, the role that our young people can play in supporting younger students or their peers in these types of evidence-based roles. I encourage you to check out a recent publication. You can scan the QR code on our screen. We'll also send it in our follow-up email. We released this earlier in the summer with some strategies on engaging evidence-based high school students in evidence-based peer or near-peer support roles. Additionally, something else that I wanted to share with you before we dive into the meat of this webinar is that we run a nationally representative survey of school principals with the RAND Corporation. We've run it every spring for the last 3 years, and this year we were able to include a few questions related to high school student engagement and peer support roles, as well as perceptions about the usefulness of these types of roles for principals when thinking about it as a strategy to address chronic absence. The full report will come out in October, but we wanted to highlight one set of responses in which we asked principals which strategies have been particularly helpful in addressing chronic absenteeism, a challenge that we know is really pervasive across schools and districts across the country. And from this data, when we asked principals how effective they have found these particular strategies that you see on my screen in reducing chronic absence, and 87% of principals, a substantial percentage of principals surveyed, indicated that they found increasing student-to-student connections, peer supports, as an effective strategy for addressing chronic absence. So this is a theme you'll hear throughout this webinar today, but really just wanted to preview that. And then through a second and separate survey that we conducted through a platform called Teen Voice earlier this month, we also surveyed high school students or youth ages 14 through 19, I believe, and we asked for their feedback on this topic about their appetite for serving in peer or near peer support roles or receiving supports from their peers or near peers in high school. And from the survey, we learned that teens who were surveyed expressed interest in serving as peer supporters because they genuinely wanted to help other students. We also learned that teens surveyed were especially interested in supporting others through helping with extracurricular activities and wellness activities over some of the other types of supports that we surveyed about, like tutoring, for example. Teens surveyed were also reported that peer engagement would encourage them to participate in these roles slightly more than factors like financial compensation or faculty recognition. So that peer encouragement, peer pressure was a positive driver here. And then teens surveyed would also be more likely to serve in peer support roles if they were able to do so outside of school hours. And they'd also want training from professionals about communication, handling difficult situations, confidentiality, and leadership in order to feel prepared to serve in these roles effectively. So today, you'll hear from two nonprofit organizations who are working in partnership with school districts to provide opportunities for high school students to support their peers. We also have some special guests today who are really integral to the program's success, so some youth speakers, and we have a great line of panelists. Throughout the panel, we will have time for Q&A at the end, so I encourage you to put questions in the Q&A function of the webinar so that we have time for them at the end. And this webinar is being recorded, and we'll share a recording within the next week. And with that, I'm excited to introduce my colleague, Jen LoPiccolo, who is the Director of District and School Partnerships at the Partnership for Student Success. Over to you, Jen.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks so much. And thank you so much to all of our panelists for being here today. Let me make introductions. I want to first begin with Tika Cromer, the Peer Forward Advisor for Prince George's County Public Schools, particularly at High Point High School in Prince George's. Tika is a veteran educator, instructional leader with over 20 years in secondary education. And again, as resource teacher at High Point High School in Prince George's County Public School, she leads college and career readiness initiatives and advises the Peer Forward team. Named Teacher of the Year in 2024 and recipient of the Excellence in Teacher Leadership Award in 2025, Tika is passionate about empowering students through peer-to-peer supports, leadership, and post-secondary planning. You're going to hear more from her about that. I also have the privilege of introducing Danielle Guindo, who has served as Read's Read Alliance Executive Director since July 2018. And prior to Read Alliance, she has more than 20 years of senior nonprofit experience, serving as Chief Program Officer at the YWCA Brooklyn and Vice President for Programs and Policy at the Committee for Hispanic Children and Families. Danielle has a diverse and effective background in leading education-based initiatives for children from infancy through college. She serves on the NYCPS Literacy Advisory Council and the EdTrust New York Advisory Council. I'm so glad you're here, Danielle. We're also joined by David D.C. Howard, the Director of Program Partnerships and Training for Peer Forward. And D.C. is responsible for leading Peer Forward's core program model, serving 80 high schools, approximately 15,000 high school student seniors. D.C. is a native of Sumter, South Carolina, and is based in the Columbia, South Carolina area. He is also, maybe this is his favorite role, an alumnus of Peer Forward, participating during his senior year of high school. DC has worked professionally for the organization since 2008 in various roles, including serving as the architect of the newest iteration of Peer Forward's professional development and youth training known as Peer Forward Coaches Development Program. Thanks for being here, DC. And last, but certainly not least, we are so excited to be joined by two Read Alliance teen leaders. Daylin Arias is a senior in Reading, Pennsylvania, and we'll be sharing more about her experience. And we're joined by Amafaladara Oke, a senior in Brooklyn, New York, also a Read Alliance teen leader. So excited to have everyone. Thank you again for being here. I want to start us off. We're going to give each of the organizations that we're highlighting today as they talk about their work empowering youth to help solve pressing challenges with the idea of really sharing a little bit more with our viewers today and beyond about what it takes and what it looks like, and also like what the implications are to really engaging our youth in these opportunities of evidence-based supports. So I want to start with Danielle. I'm going to punt it over to you, Danielle, to ask you to tell us a little bit more about the pressing challenge Read Alliance is focused on and what your findings indicate about the impact of peer programs for children's and youth today.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's incredibly gratifying to know that groups like the Partnership for Student Success value the voice of young people and are elevating how powerful young people are in making change, especially in changing the lives of their peers or younger peers. So really proud to be here today. Excited to be a part of this esteemed panel with such wonderful panelists. And thank you again, Jen, for the invitation. So Read Alliance is 25 years old, and we are grounded in the belief that all children and young people have the power and potential to succeed. And we know this because every year since our inception, our own data, we are relentlessly committed to data and feedback. Our own data has demonstrated that participants in our program who complete our program improve more than a full grade level in reading. And what's really exciting about that, I mean, that's really the number one, pressing issue that, we're looking to help address as an organization. And what's really exciting about that is not only have we seen that to be true throughout the course of our history from our own data collection, multiple external evaluations have been conducted over the years that have demonstrated the same outcomes. Most recently, in the summer of 2023, when again we saw that there was a significant improvement in the reading level progress of the young readers. But really exciting note was that that study also found that the teen leaders, who also gained so much from the experience of this meaningful, paid, safe work experience, usually their first job, they're also improving a full grade level in foundational reading skills from their position as teen leaders, as teen tutors. And so those are the things that Read Alliance is quite proud of, the dual impact of our program, of a high impact individual one-to-one phonics-based tutoring program that's extended learning time after school and over the summer, that provides these incredible opportunities for young people, is also making such important changes to the long-term trajectory of the academic outcomes of our participants, both the young children and the teens. So I'm going to stop talking because what we really want to hear from is how this experience has impacted the teens. And we have two superstars that Jen had shared with you at the top that were joining us. One of the things that Read Alliance has been able to do over the last 25 years is not only demonstrate its impact here in the 5 boroughs of New York City where we were founded, but we've expanded to communities outside of New York City. And Daylin has actually worked with us for a couple of years now, she'll tell us, in Reading, Pennsylvania, where we've been for now, this is our 6th year, and the outcomes are just the same. Daylin, would you tell us what the impact of being a Read Alliance team leader has had on you?
Yes, of course. So, like she said before, hi, my name is Daylin. I'm a senior team leader here in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I've been working with Read Alliance for about 3 years, and this has definitely changed me a lot with just overall how the way I think, the way I see it, and what I want for my future. At the beginning, when I first started Read Alliance, I didn't think it was gonna have such a big impact on me like it did, but it really changed me. It really changed me how I see things, how I want to make an impact, how I want to help people, especially with my career choices. Like working with kids definitely was like, wow, this is something that I would like to pursue in the future. And it was something very beautiful. And I would definitely say Read Alliance, it not only helps us, but getting to see the difference we're helping these kids achieve, like going from one set of the book to another 3 sets in like what 3 months. It's beautiful to see, and like you're making a change too. Even I'm only 17, and it's like wow, I'm making a change, and it's really awesome to see.
Thank you, Daylin. Before I ask Amafaladara to share a little bit about why this has been such a meaningful experience for her, I want to emphasize one thing that Daylin had shared, which is that one of the things we hear a lot from our young people who are serving as teen leaders and who are alumni, talk about, of course, it is really important to earn and to be economically empowered as a young person. But some of the greatest benefits of working in Read Alliance or an organization where you're empowered as a leader is that someone, a younger person, is counting on you, that those benefits are, well beyond what the paycheck can bring. You're someone that a young person counts on, their family knows and is excited about, and you've been making a difference in a younger person's life. So Amafaladara is someone who not only knew this was going to be important for her, but she knew it was going to be important for her peers. And I'd like you, Amafaladara, to tell us why you thought this was an important opportunity to bring to your school.
Hi, my name is Amma Philadara. I'm a senior at Uncommon Leadership Charter. And for me, Read Alliance was very important for me to bring to my school because fellow colleagues like myself wanted a job experience. They wanted a job where they can handle both schoolwork and also go to work where they don't have to miss like a day of school. And I happen to know about Read Alliance, so I was like, rather than just turn in my application, I'm going to turn in an application for everyone by bringing Read Alliance to my school. I'm going to provide everybody with that chance to go to work and go to school because I believe like when they work with the students, they're able to go back to like a nostalgia feeling where you remember back in your younger days when you were struggling to read and you look back and how far you've gone, how far you've traveled from where you've begun and like where you're standing presently. And I think at this present time where many youths are kind of like lacking motivation, being employed gives them that sense of motivation, gives them like, I can't give up now when I've come so far from where I've begun.
Thank you so much. And I want you all to know she did not let up until she made sure she and her peers had jobs at Read Alliance. She got the principal, she got me, she got all of our staff on board because, as she said, it's not only empowering to have a job, but also to see how you can be an empowering force for young children in the same community. So cheers to both of you because you are superstars.
And cheers to all three of you. Thank you so much for sharing more about Read Alliance and particularly from our senior teen leaders who really add the special sauce, if you will. We'll hear from you all again shortly. I wanted to create space to also introduce two more wonderful panelists a little bit more closely. And I wanted to turn our attention to Peer Forward. At DC, I'd like to invite you first to talk a little bit about your organization, which provides peer mentoring via peer leadership, really. And I would love to hear more about what you've seen, especially since the pandemic, with thinking about college and career readiness and thinking about this work and empowering young people to support their peers.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you to Jen, to the Partnership of Student Success for creating this space and opportunity. One of the things that's so very often hard to do, but really, really impactful to do is to provide space and grace for us to collaborate and be able to come together to learn as well as also share with one another that ultimately provides for great relationships. Also, big kudos to the Read Alliance, to Danielle, to the amazing teen leaders there with the great work that you all are doing as well. And so Peer Forward, for those of you that are not as aware of who we are, is that we are an actually international not-for-profit organization that has been around for, will be ultimately 30 years as of next year, with our whole premise being the following: answering this particular question: who is the most influential individual to a 17-year-old? Well, the answer that we believe and that we've been, if you will, operating with over the past now 29 years is that we believe another 17-year-old is the most influential individual to that 17-year-old that's navigating how do I figure out what exactly does my life look like when it comes down to once I graduate from high school, and then even most recently within the past decade, when I'm actually in the college and or post-secondary space. And so a little bit about what we do is that we have both a high school product as well as we also have a college product that's all focused around three basic tenets that students are therefore leaders to impact transformational change amongst their peers and amongst their, if you will, class of sorts and their whole school, which is around being able to navigate either the application process from the high school side and or the academic process from the college side, both sides being able to make sure that individuals have both the knowledge as well as the application around financial aid and being able to do that early. And then with regards to having that sense of belonging as our team leaders with Read Alliance, and as Danielle already referenced in the same vein, that connection from the high school perspective of if I'm an underclassman, how does this look when it comes to the potential of post-secondary college or career? And then at the collegiate level, how does my collegiate work connect with regards to possibly those within my campus community, as well as also the professional community at large? All of us went through this very kind of unique thing that none of us have ever went through, which is, of course, the global COVID-19 pandemic. In the midst of all of that, we had to figure out how do we get the buy-in of post-secondary engagement with individuals, yet again, from not only all the way out with our network being as far as the Hawaiian Islands, all the way to the Commonwealth of Bermuda, and especially with our amazing partners in Prince George's County Public Schools, which is the wonderful county right outside of our nation's capital. And so I wanted to invite here an amazing and distinguished colleague that I've had the privilege of knowing and engaging with for over a decade, Tika Cromer, to talk a little bit about just what was this experience like, if you will, from the actual advisor's perspective in the schools and seeing how the organization like ours, Peer Forward, not only benefited post-secondary success, but also being able to re-engage, if you will, students to be a part of that school community, even referencing what was talked about earlier, possibly with the other areas like absenteeism, school engagement, and things of that sort. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm so honored to be among the panelists here. And I thank you for this opportunity. Just being a part of Peer Forward pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, I've been able to see how it has shifted and changed, but still remain the same at the same time, because students and teens are still wanting information. They're learning that the knowledge that they gain is powerful, but they're not gatekeeping that information. They're excited about sharing that information. One of the students said it so clearly, so beautifully, unprompted. She said, I don't acquire knowledge to keep it. I acquire knowledge so that I can share it. And I thought that was a very powerful thing. And so whatever position we find ourselves in, whether we're locked in or we're locked down, students had to find themselves re-socializing, if I could use that as a term, re-socializing, coming back together, but still having the same fears about what's next, what's going to happen for me next, and how do I walk through those steps. So the peer leaders get to go away with Peer Forward, and they are empowered with information and knowledge. And as it was mentioned earlier, one-on-one with experts in their field. This past summer, one of my students was so excited about, I worked with an actual journalist, and this journalist helped me write my college essay. And I just, feeling as a teacher, like, okay, no, this is an exciting opportunity to talk with someone who's an expert in this field. And she could not wait to take everything she learned and take it back to the school and share it with others. And that's just a beautiful, powerful thing. And I've seen it work, before the pandemic and since then, and how students come back together and still want to work with one another. So it's exciting.
Absolutely. And so just like how Tika referenced to all of you, I'll just kind of encapsulate the final piece here in looking at the slide that you're seeing on the screen, is that even in the midst of after a global pandemic, after tremendous shifts, both in the academic and the governmental and unique climates, that you're seeing students are still engaged with their students to make this monumental decision to say yes to post-secondary access and to getting them to actually engage in their own post-secondary access and success. And so we here at Peer Forward are super, super blessed, excited, humbled, and encouraged that students, likened to the amazing panelists that are here today, likened to all of the phenomenal students we have all across our network, and likened to even encouraging someone like me who went through this process as a student leader myself, that there are individuals that still believe in the power of community and in the power of actual youth activation. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere, DC. I'm going to tee up a question for you and Danielle and give Danielle a chance to ask our youth leaders here as well. But let me stop sharing my screen so we can see all of you. We'll have a little bit of a discussion here while we talk a little bit more around the special sauce motivating our youth. You've already alluded to some of this, so I don't mean to be redundant, but this will give you spaces maybe talk more brass tacks about like what are those things that you find motivate young people in the midst of the work and knowing that they have a lot of things pulling at them in a lot of different directions and really thinking about this idea of both mutual growth but also thinking about like what very intentional planning you have to do in order to ensure that students, young people, are motivated to help their peers. And DC, what do you find at Peer Forward first as you think about what it looks like to continue to motivate young people to do this, or what it is that helps them want to help each other?
Absolutely. So I think two things come to mind when you say that. And especially for our folks that are into the research academically as well as professionally around this, I think these two components will make a lot of sense for you. Number one, setting up and really engaging transformative learning environments. That is the key thing that we do with regards to our workshop experience that Tika referenced that happens over the summer, as well as we're able to engage our peer leaders during the year in kind of, if you will, one day, if you will, re-energizers that we do, and then being able to have emotionally intelligent spaces. So understanding that our students, and I believe our panelists here that are students as well will probably agree with this, is that you feel the most empowered when you feel as if you are heard, you are experienced, and you're received. And so making sure that we are providing not only ourselves those spaces, but individuals like Tika and our other advisors that are in the schools, those emotionally intelligent spaces, that allows for that growth, both, like you said, mutually, as well as also individually with our students.
Danielle, how would you respond as you think about
That was so
your
beautiful.
special sauce? That was
I
well
love
said. I
what you
agree.
just said, DC. I love what you said. And just to sort of put an exclamation point on the emotional intelligence piece, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about Partnership for Student Success is the elevation of the people-powered student supports. And I think, especially in models like ours, where there's this emphasis on the people and the core of the program is the relationship between the teen and the child or the teen and the teen. Because there is no real match for that, and I think that's core to what makes our programs and our organizations quite effective. I also want to amplify and put an exclamation point on your piece around like the celebration, the compliment. The compliments to the actual like work experience. So Read Alliance does take that very seriously and implement programming that can enrich the work that they do as tutors. And so providing other opportunities to continue to grow as young people and as leaders through, opportunities to explore different careers, assistance with college access and college readiness. We have an annual youth summit that one of our senior leaders had developed, several years ago as a dream to say, hey, we all get opportunities to go to professional development conferences that take us out for a day or a couple of days, and we celebrate and we award folks and we listen to keynote speakers, and we do that for young people too. And so that's, those are the kinds of things that tell young people not only is the work you're doing important, not only does the data show that it works, not only are you relied upon and depended upon by young people and teachers and parents as a mentor and a role model, but we also value you and your time and your growth, and you are important enough to invest in to continue doing that. And so young people receiving that message are motivated to continue moving forward because they are seen, heard, and respected. So again, I'm going to stop because I would love for Daylin and Amafaladara to also share with us what their why is, what motivates each of you to do the work that you do. Amafaladara, do you want to go first this time?
Yes. Thank you. I'm motivated to do the work I do because I learn from the students themselves. Just like how some of them are struggling to like read English, I also take like Spanish class and I struggle in Spanish. And one of my favorite teaching moment was when I was trying to like tutor my kid, but he was only speaking Spanish and not paying me any mind. So I spoke Spanish to him to tell him, please read the book in English. And it was really, he just burst out laughing. And I'm like, and then he started speaking with me. I'm like, slow down. I'm not that good. But if I teach you English and you teach me Spanish, it's a win-win. So like that motivation of like just learning and finding a similarity with them was really amazing. And I'm excited to do it again.
Thank you. Daylin, how about you?
Yes, just to tag along a little what she said, I think definitely my why is getting to help and getting to know that I'm making a difference. Kids are like an open book. Whatever you put into them, that's what they're gonna show in the future. And I think it's definitely very nice that I get to be part of that, especially because they're so young. They're first graders, second graders. They're at the beginning stages, and you're getting to help them read. Like, wow, they're gonna remember you guys forever. Like, it's crazy, but it's like, wow, you're in the future, you're gonna be like, oh wow, I had this team leader and she helped me how to better my reading skills. Like, that's a very rewarding experience. And even me coming from a different country and not knowing English, having this when I was my age would have been such a big difference. So that's my why.
Love it. I love it. Well, we're going to hear from, again, all of you in a little bit, but I want to turn it over to you, Tika. I really want to sort of talk brass tacks with you, and I'd love for you to talk, given your role as an advisor and really supporting the young people to share their knowledge and inform each other about post-second, what they're learning as leaders, and then in turn support their peers. I'd love to, if you would share a little bit more as you think about people listening today, just the strategies that you've seen at the school level to advise and support you to be effective mentors.
And so, and again, just wanted to make sure I clarified and understood your question, how we motivate students to be mentors to their peers, correct? Oh, this
Correct.
is exciting. I love this. So when we talk about, I get so excited. One of the things that we see is that if we take the students and train them, and I think that, again, that was mentioned earlier, train them and walk them through a process and show them that there's a process for acquiring this knowledge that they're then going to turnkey back in their schools, but then listen to their ideas and listen to them process how they learned and how they felt when they were learning, and then watching them take that and turnkey that with their peers. It's just an absolutely awesome thing. I know a student said to me at the end of his, for example, writing process for his college essay, he knew that the peer leader that he worked with, he said, working with her, I knew I brought forth the best product for me. And it was the most helpful. And he said this, he said that I wouldn't have gotten an essay that was this personal and this deep and this good had I not worked with this other student, this peer leader. And it was awesome to hear. So giving them the autonomy to take and the belief in them. I believe in what you've learned. I believe in what you have to offer. So let me put you in a position, creating these spaces. And then as the adult in the room, of course, you have to plan. I think you mentioned this before. I have to plan and say, put certain things in place and say, this is a safe space. As the adult in the room, I have to set that standard. this is a safe place. No one leaves, no one hurts anyone, no one does anything. And the students feel that. And then they allow themselves to be vulnerable with one another. The peer leaders are vulnerable about their own processes. And then the students are allowed to then feel comfortable, and everything melts away. And it becomes this beautiful, it's not it's one of those moments when you see it happening, the light bulbs are going off and you feel this is what it's supposed to be. This is what education is about. This is how we teach one another. This is how we learn from one another. But this is how we empower our youth to be that for one another. So. And then there are so many opportunities. We see that throughout the schools. We see the students continuing. The biggest thing is also letting them know that you believe in their power and believe in what they are capable of doing, bringing out skills that they didn't even know they had. Students who come in quiet, who are now able to speak to other things, or knowing that me being quiet, I still have these other skills that I can use to help, my peers, knowing the power within themselves.
Yeah, that's well
I could
said.
go on that.
I know you could. I know. And maybe there's some more questions about this particular topic and we can hear from everyone today. What I heard too, Tika, was this very intentionality. So, and I hear this from both Peer Forward and Read Alliance, and I've heard this from others doing peer to peer or near peer programs and trying to really lift youth voice in their communities, is there's an intentionality. This isn't just like, we're going to start a mentoring program and then it's going to work beautifully. There's an opportunity to think about what the support looks like in the beginning, what the support that you provide throughout the year, and obviously a very intentional way to start and possibly scale the work. So thank you for that. And I want to make sure I'm checking the time. We're doing good. We're doing well. I have a couple more questions if there aren't any, but Kate, did we hear from anyone who joined us today about any questions they have for our panel?
We have not, but it's not too late to add questions. So I'd say, Jen, dive into what you have.
Yes.
But people who are attending, please feel free to add as you think of things.
Wonderful. I wanted to actually then ask this question more broadly to those of you to you, DC, but also to you, Danielle. As you think about that intentionality, what are some of those things that you think are really important when you are really trying to empower youth to really help solve what we know are pressing challenges: access, post-secondary pathways, mentoring, tutoring young people to increase literacy, not only for the young people, but for themselves as well, and so on. Tell us some of those things that I think are really important as you think about being intentional.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really important question because it's one of those questions that sort of highlights that some of us, I'm sure DC, you get this a lot, like it looks really simple what we do, right? Because it works so well, and people think it's a really simple thing. But there's so much thought and intentionality behind the scenes to ensure that this structure makes sense. And ensuring that, one of the first questions you asked today, Jen, is, thinking about research and evidence that backs up the models that both Read Alliance and Peer Forward employ. That's something that I think both of our organizations take very seriously. This is not a haphazard, oh, we'll try it and figure it out as we go. This is evidence-based models that, continue to gain feedback on our own to ensure that we're doing it the right way year after year, that we're getting the outcomes that we intend to get year after year, so that we can continue to move the needle forward. So I think that ensuring that there's a constant attention to data, to outcomes, to quality assurance, and to research and evidence is really at the heart of what, like, all the touchy-feely stuff that we're talking about, like the stuff that feels good, that sounds good, that we know works because we kind of see it and feel it, but we also need to have the data to back it up.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with my phenomenal colleague here in the field, Danielle. And I will approach it from I guess, a different side of that same coin and say simple does not always equal easy. I think a lot of folks see simple and equate it to easy. No, it is what we do inherently, and I don't mean to negate either side, is very simple concepts, but they're not easy to implement. They're not easy to run. They're not easy to see, if you will, garnered success for a long period of time with Realliance 25 years, with us almost 30 years. But if I were to offer just further kind of with that same essence, it's being able to, number one, be, if you will, very structured, as Danielle already referenced. And what does this look like in the high school space? It's going to look different than what it looks like in the college space. It may look different, and I'm certain Danielle would agree, in what it looks like in the five boroughs of New York versus what it looks like in Pennsylvania. It's going to look different from what it may look like in Prince George's County, Maryland, than what it looks like in, Oahu out in the Hawaiian Islands. But the overall, if you will, theme is still the same. From that same standpoint, scalability. What does it look like in order to successfully scale this program, whether it's one school in Prince George's County, close to 30 schools, in other areas smaller? So what does the scalability look like when it comes down to that particular piece? And then the last thing, and I think both of our organizations would agree, is that students are always the center. And I think that one of the things that oftentimes as adults that we can get very caught up in, understandably so, due to the nature of both standards we have to abide by, as well as also viability financially, is that we have to be the answers. But the reality is, I think in both of our organizations, if the students aren't the center of it, neither of our program models work to their efficiency. And also being able to see how does student engagement evolve over time. What I'm certain both of our organizations did, even in 2020, looks different than what we're doing in 2025. And then you could go 5, 10, 15 plus increments. So just those particular thoughts there.
And Jen, I wanted to jump in on that as well, being intentional about how this rolls over. So I'm pretty sure there are students with Realliance that when they're involved in the program as younger students, that they look forward to possibly being the team leaders. And I see that with Peer Forward because I have now ninth graders. How can I be a part of Peer Forward? Because they see the seniors helping everyone. We have junior peer leaders who then become senior peer leaders who cannot wait to go to the summer workshop because that's this great secret. I'm going to go learn more and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be this. But then the big thing for me, and this is a personal thing, the human data in it all, I had over 7 students who were involved as high school students who are now a part of the national program that work alongside with DC. DC was a high school student. He works with the program. They want to continue to see it grow, and they're moving up the ladder within that program because they believe in it. So,
yeah,
thank you.
They believe in it. And I wonder, Daylin and Mafladara, as you hear us talk about what are those strategies that really help our students and think about what the training and the support looks like that you need in order to be set up for success. Do you have anything else you want to share about what that meant for you or what you received that really helped you become excellent tutors and leaders?
Yes, I could definitely say that one of the main things that definitely helped me take a step forward is feeling welcomed, feeling that I'm mean something. I'm part of this program, and it's not just for nothing. You're making a difference, and that part of being with the training, being helped, and taking in that knowledge, and it's like, okay, now I get to implement that into others, and definitely, like I said, feeling welcome when all of this happened. I think it's definitely one of the biggest things when it comes to the program.
Absolutely. Please.
I agree with what Daylene said about feeling welcomed. And I also like being able, the training session I felt like went really successful because your questions were never too foolish. Like there's no such things as like a foolish question. It's just like we knew less more of. And when my trainer was like training us, she welcomed us, she encouraged us, she allowed us to like make mistake as prospective students, so we get like how we're actually going to fix that when we get to the
Yeah.
workplace.
Well said, both of you. We did have one question or maybe two come in. I think, Kate, did I see one about matching? That's like a brass tacks question, but I bet there are organizations or schools or districts thinking about this. Like, what does the match process look like? What are you taking into consideration as you match peers with their near peers or their younger peers?
Yeah, I mean, at Read Alliance, not to get too granular, but happy to discuss in more detail with anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more. I mean, what we take very, very seriously is the one-to-one. So we ensure that, when we've got a cohort of young children, typically mostly first graders, but kindergarten, first and second graders in a partner elementary school, we're aiming to recruit, anywhere between like 32 and 45 in that age group. And so based on the model of the program, we want to make sure that we've got enough teens to tutor each one of those students. And so we usually have one teen tutor two students in one particular afternoon, 45 minutes at a time. So that's how Read Alliance matches teens and children, so that it's always one-to-one.
And are the just as a follow-up, Danielle, are the teens sort of part of that broader community or that borough? Like, are they matched with younger youth that might be
Yeah,
having shared
I think
experiences?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I think make Read Alliance a really attractive job for young people, beyond, of course, all of the other things we've already discussed about the benefits, both pay and otherwise. One is that it's an hour and a half after school, 3 days a week for 45 sessions. So a lot of young people can commit to being a Read Alliance teen leader and also be very involved in other extracurriculars at their high school or in their community. The other is that we like to call it a community empowerment model. And that's, by nature of the model, the young people are part of the same community and quite often attended the same elementary school where they're teaching now. Some of them I've visited many times where they're actually in the same classroom where they went to first grade. So there is a lot of that full circle specialness
Yeah,
about the Read model. Yes.
yeah. Tika DC matching, what does that look like? Maybe Tika at the school level, how do you think about that? And anything you want to offer as folks think about doing this?
Well, my high school has 3,150 students, so that's a huge school. So yes. So when we look at the senior, you guys are amazed, right? When you look at the senior class right now, there are about 600 or so seniors. So, and I have 10 peer leaders, so it's not as much
Oh,
matching,
yes.
but it's looking at how you can take and use. I have 10 peer leaders, but we allow other students who want to come in and learn, and we teach them, and then it grows. So we have a
Yeah,
group that has grown, and then we make just smaller learning communities, for lack of a
yeah,
better term. And so we have to just, hey, you're going to go to this session and you'll work with this class of students, or two of you will
yeah,
go here. We have to just be strategic in how we are here. But I have to also remember that they're still students. So my peer leaders are still students, and still keep in mind that, and I check in with them often. Have you taken care of your own business, before you have to put your mask on yourself before you can help others? But it's a intentional planning of how we use the students as peer leaders.
yes, yes. You want to add a
The
little
only
something, DC?
Sure. I'll just add the other piece around all of this, and this is something that we utilize for all of our teams, is the acronym SMART when it comes to SMART goals. So being very, very specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely with regards to your goals. And when you're able to be that intentional in your goal setting, that makes, therefore, the work that much more apparent and, if you will, palatable for all the entities involved. I think a lot of times we look to try to solve a huge challenge, but until we truly identify the most, if you will, finite capacities of it, and then from there set a SMART goal, as I just kind of referenced it, towards it, then individuals can actually put forth action. I think a lot of times, unfortunately, we mean well, but then because we haven't truly identified the challenge and then put forth the effort of what is the goal, we end up,
Mm-hmm.
burning folks out, both at the
Yeah,
student and the educator level.
wonderful. Well, I know we can talk a lot more, and maybe there'll be more opportunities. I want to make sure that we have time for my last lightning round. At the Partnership for Student Success, we like to give this sort of quick, in 1 minute or less, uh, opportunity to each of you. Okay, this is your chance to sort of leave us with something that you believe is really important, a piece of advice, if you will. When you have, when you think about advice, and Daylin and Amafladar, maybe this is advice that you have for other teens, other youth thinking about if they want to engage or if they want to start something in their school and feel empowered to do that. But for all of us here, if I could ask each of you in 1 minute or less, what is one piece of advice that you have for people listening today, working to implement, expand, or improve peer support programming in their school, in their community? What's that advice that you think about, you want to make sure you get a chance to say? I'm going to invite Danielle, if I may, to start, followed by DC and Tika, and then we'll end with our students.
Sure. Thanks, Jen. I mean, I think very, specifically if there is an interest in, implementing a high impact tutoring literacy program, by all means, reach out. We'd be happy to share that with you. But I think, first and foremost, the mindset that young people have the power and potential to succeed, and the belief that there is no option to fail them. And by including young people in the solution, amazing things can happen, and our two organizations are examples of that.
Thank you. How about you, DC? Advice.
For especially, I'll go to our educators that are both in the field as well as also that are engaged in the process of many of the things that we have here. It's two conversations as often as you can have them. One, for a student that has aspirations of being in post-secondary, and two, of an educator that has aspirations of engaging a student in post-secondary. Have both of those conversations separately. And what's really powerful is if you're able to get those two individuals to speak together. When you get that to happen, magic happens.
Mm.
Wow,
Power
that
of
was
just
really
simple
deep.
conversations.
That was deep. How do I go after that? Peer leadership allows both the student leader and the student that's being assisted to be vulnerable in that moment, and they both grow but the students learn to advocate for themselves. Self-advocacy is so important for the youth. So and that peers, so listening to their ideas and finding a way to facilitate them is the best way. As an educator, for that, that's the path that I try to follow. So listening to them and trying to facilitate what they feel, what they know to be most helpful for their peers.
Mafladara, what do you think? What's some advice that you might have for, again, thinking about fellow students who are either wanting or thinking about serving in a peer role?
Advice I would give to fellow students like myself is, when you believe in something, don't give up. Like, even if you don't get answer, if you don't get anything, don't give up until you hear directly from the person. Like, the fact that you didn't hear from the person does not mean that's a no. Because I remember when Read Alliance, before it even came to my school, I was sending emails, no response. I came down to the office 2 times because I'm not someone that's gonna give up. And like, now, look at this. I didn't give up, and it's here. So what can I say? So don't give up until you hear that no from that person. Don't give up. Keep pushing, and you're going to succeed. Yeah.
Well said. Daylin, any advice you have?
Yes, the advice that I would give is don't be afraid. New paths lead to new growth, new opportunities, and like Read Alliance, it was something that I was scared to do at first, but if I hadn't done it, look where I am now. Look how much I've done. Like, don't be afraid to try something new because it can lead to a lot of growth. And there's nothing wrong with learning more than what you know. It's always, as a person, you're always going to continue to learn. So don't be afraid.
Well, I am so appreciative of all of you, and I know that we could talk more. We will maybe we'll find ways to follow up, but we will most definitely continue to. Daylin and Amaflador, we want to hear about your progress. We want to know where this leads. I know, Daylin, you've talked about even possibly pursuing a career, helping young people, and maybe you wouldn't have done that if you hadn't had this chance. So I'm excited about that. I want to share my screen because I have to do a little bit more of how we want to make sure to stay involved. And there have been some links put in, I believe, the chat for those of us listening to these stories and to these wonderful testimonies of these great organizations and students, of course. So with that, let me make sure to say that we want to hear from you. We want to continue to collaborate. Those of you listening, these are QR codes to stay involved. You can join multiple different ways to sort of help be part of our coalition, whether it's joining our Attendance Solutions Network, which is designed to help those in roles that are working to address chronic absence in their schools or working closely with the school. You can become a supporting champion if you're not already. We have a higher ed coalition that's doing some really cool stuff, supporting each other through some challenges related to access to more peer people powered supports. Our young people in higher ed working to support in their community. And of course, if you have an idea for a working group, we're always interested in them. So let us know if you're interested, and if so, what you might be interested in working on. I can already see there's a lot of different ways for us to continue to put out hopefully helpful resources, commentary, etc., on this particular topic of empowering youth to help solve pressing challenges faced by our schools and communities. So we're super thankful that you joined us. We are super, again, thankful to our panelists. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And stay involved. Follow us on social media. We welcome that. And we will be hosting additional Research to Practice webinars, so stay tuned for more information about that. Have a great day. Happy fall.